Welcome to the A New Insight podcast, empowering and inspiring your journey to optimal health. Hosted by Dr. Supatra Tovar, clinical psychologist, registered dietitian, fitness expert, and author of Deprogram Diet Culture. Rethink your relationship with food, heal your mind, and live a diet-free life. I follow my guests' journey to optimal health, providing you with the keys to unlock your own wellness path. Tune in and evolve with us. Welcome back to the A New Insight podcast. We are back for the second half of our interview with founder of 1000 Roads, Brad Pitzele. Brad gave us some really thought-provoking insight into how oxygen therapy changed his health, and I want to know a lot more. So, just to kind of wrap up on oxygen therapy, give me a picture of how you found your way to, what you're using right now.
Well, it was a lot of experimentation. I always joke I'm a recovering engineer. I spent 10 years of my early career at doing engineering work. And so I kind of built my own and tinkered along the way and figuring out what was working and what was kind of the weak link and continually upgrading to get to where we are today. Um, and and then at one point, the doctor who recommended it to me saw my improvement, and he asked me, he's like, "Would you start making them for my patients?" And that point, we kind of put together a goal of I wanted to make this more affordable and help more folks who had, were dealing with chronic illness and wanted to increase their health span. Um, and so it was kind of an engineering challenge to figure out what are the best ways to get this done and make it affordable so people could actually use it.
Wonderful. So we will be able to link people to that after the show. You can find all of that information in the show notes. And certainly I invite people to do their research and really look for what works for them. But let's actually pivot and let's talk about infrared and red light therapies. Give us a picture of, I know that there's two different kinds. So for people who know nothing about it,
Yep.
give us all the 411 on how those therapies can help improve your health.
Sure. So there's kind of two different spectra of light. There's red light, visible red light, and then there's near infrared light, which means let's say just above red. It's not visible to us. Most of us experience infrared wavelengths as heat. That's how the body experiences them versus visually. They do something really interesting. Researchers figured out decades ago that early on they realized that plants that were exposed to red lights started growing faster. And so that was kind of an eyebrow raising moment for them. And what eventually, with many years of research, they figured out is the specific spectrum of red and near infrared light. They penetrate our cells and they hit our mitochondria, which are, if you remember from biology class, they refer to those as the powerhouse of the cell. That's the part of the cell that utilizes oxygen and food, glucose, and it converts it into a usable form of energy for our body, the form of energy we use for everything we do. So they found that when they stimulated the cells with these specific wavelengths of light, it would stimulate the mitochondria to absorb more oxygen, to increase oxygen demand, and thus put out more ATP, their energy source. And so that was the impetus for it. Now, there's been tens of thousands of research papers done on various frequencies and various benefits. And the nuts and bolts of it are, anywhere in your body it shines on the mitochondria, it's benefiting that. And you can hear everything from benefits for skin, anti-aging, it's anti-wrinkle, it will help with reduce scars, faster healing of skin, faster healing of, damaged tissue, whether that be muscles, tendons, fascia, etc., bones, even.
Hair. Well, you
Hair,
for hair too,
increased
right?
hair growth and hair health. You also hear about it for brain health, circulatory health, and just so many things, because as we were talking in our first session, at the end of the day, energy is the currency of our body. And if your cells have enough energy, that's not just energy to feel good. It's energy to repair themselves. It's energy to produce new healthy cells. It's energy to do whatever that particular cell is supposed to do at its best, whether it be your liver, your bone, your skin, etc. And so what's interesting is why we need it, I think. That's actually the most interesting story to me. If you look at the sunlight is full spectrum, meaning it's all the way from UV on one end of the spectrum, all the way through reds and infrareds. But when we move more and more to indoor, and particularly since we've moved to LED and incandescent lighting, we've
And
moved
blue
away.
light?
Yes. We've shifted the whole spectrum from the reds to the blues and yellows. And the reason for that is they're much more energy efficient. If you're trying to view something, that the blues and the yellows are much more energy efficient for your eyes. In reds and infrareds, which are experienced as heat is just a waste, from an energy efficient standpoint. No one's turning their lights on to heat their home. And so, not anymore anyhow. And so they've purposefully filtered those out. So we spend all this time indoors, and now we're, to your point, in all of these blue lights that we've all seen some of the health consequences of them. And we're
Mm.
not getting enough of these reds and infrareds. And these things were specifically, our body was specifically tuned to react to reds and infrareds. Both, it's a waking signal early in the day. It stimulates the mitochondria early in the day. And also later in the day, it's been used to help, I won't say melatonin production in the body. It stops the suppression of melatonin in the body. So it's a double negative
Very
there.
cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. Okay, this is just a personal question, but if you're surrounded by hydroponic gardens, are you doing better than most?
With red lights. Yeah, yeah. You're getting some red light. That's good. Now, in order to get the benefit really from red light, um, it needs to be pretty intense. We're trying to mimic what the sun does outdoors, indoors. And
Mhm.
so the way we do this with devices is usually when you use a red light therapy device, for most devices, you're relatively close. You're within, 6 to 18 inches, let's say, with most devices.
Right.
Because obviously, as you get further away from that light source, the power dissipates.
Got it. So I'd have to be, like, sunning myself under my hydroponic garden.
That's
I'm just
right.
curious. Okay, continue. So let's really kind of explore the what's the difference though, red and near
Infrared.
infrared, and how are they used differently?
Yeah, so really the difference is fascinating. It's it's really, to simplify it, it's how deeply they penetrate the body. So
Mm.
reds generally penetrate the skin and subcutaneous skin areas. And so they have a lot of their effects on collagen production. So that's why we talk about anti-wrinkle, skin health, just general youthful skin appearance. And then infrared can go deeper. It can go through our body. It can go into our organs, our brains, our bones, our connective tissue, and help there as well. But obviously, we try to pair those together so we're getting more of a holistic benefit. So you can. I mean, like for instance, the red light panels we sell, you can turn off one or the other if you just wanted to focus on infrared or red, and we have different wavelengths within each of those buckets. But generally, we recommend folks use all of them because you're getting benefits from every single one of those. You're helping your mitochondria at different layers of tissue.
Got it. Okay, so did you gauge the effects of the exercise with oxygen separate from red and near infrared light therapy? And give me a picture of what the oxygen therapy did for you and what did the light therapy do?
um, so I really approached everything kind of research first. I did a ton of research each time I dove into the Lyme disease, into the oxygen and the red light, because I just wanted to know what the heck it was. I wanted to take ownership for my health. And I first started with exercise, the oxygen therapy, and I did that for probably, for quite a while by itself. And the benefits I noticed, um, we have folks who do that and like they'll notice benefits on day one. I'm jealous of them.
Mm.
I'm on the longer end of the spectrum. Most folks notice something from it within sessions or maybe weeks. Mine was probably more like months. It was probably 3 months. And then I noticed I used to, I'm making this number up, but relatively, I had 57 symptoms and now I was down to 42, sort of thing, where it was like, when you have that many, you're just like focused on the things that are discomfortable right now.
Right.
Um, but I started noticing the first thing you notice when you do EWOT is you notice exercise is easier. So, like, if you're exercise intolerant, like a lot of folks who are sick are, it's like just easier to do. Or if you're in good shape, you'll find you need to crank up the resistance on your exercise bike or whatever to get the same feel of a workout. Um, and that happens for a while. All of a sudden, you keep making jumps faster than you would if it was just exercise. But as far as like feeling better, really for me, it was energy and clear headedness. Like I noticed I was like able to focus during business meetings and I wasn't like spacing out. I was making it through the day more, and like just to be present was huge for me. And I noticed aches and pains going away. I noticed pains I was having were disappearing, or becoming less. Um, some of them, the most painful ones probably took longer. Like my foot pain was probably some of the longest lived pain I had. Um, Somewhere along the way, I started to tinker with red light and near infrared light. And at the time, there really weren't as many panel, available. There wasn't as much technology available. So it was a lot of tinkering with, probably some of the bulbs you have in your hydroponic setups and different sort of tools. And, they had lasers and I had a red light laser I was using on joints and that sort of thing. Um, but I really noticed when I started pairing it after even a few weeks, I started noticing like acceleration is the best way to describe it. Um, so the way I kind of describe the two working together is when you're doing EWOT, you're flooding your body with a massive supply of oxygen. In 15 minutes, you can take in as much oxygen as you would in like a normal full day. It's a massive amount
Wow.
because we're taking advantage of the synergies of all these physiological changes that happen in your body during exercise. You're breathing deeper and faster, your heart's beating harder, etc. And so your body's primed to take in this oxygen. Um, and then you go under a red light like immediately after that, and you stimulate your mitochondria to
Gobble
demand
up.
more of this oxygen. That's
Yes.
right,
That
and
makes so much
utilize it.
sense. I
Yeah,
get it now. I love that. Keep going.
yeah. No, that's that's really it. And I noticed that that was kind of my experiences. Once I added red light, really I noticed an acceleration in my symptoms going away and my healing journey. So that was pretty cool. It was a pretty cool moment for me because when you're sick, you're impatient.
Oh, absolutely. Now, how do people sift through the variety of products out there? What do they need to look for specifically? Because you can see, like, there's this little red light mask you see advertised on your social media, that's, red light caps. And, I haven't seen much, but I probably will after we air this, a lot of little ads for oxygen
Right.
therapy as well. And you guys might as well. But how do you find products? I know you have yours, but
Yeah,
give people a
general.
general idea of what they need to look for with exercise with oxygen and with low light therapies.
Sure. So exercise with oxygen first, that's pretty simple. You need there's some older folks who have done it without like reservoirs, and you can't really do it without a reservoir. The problem is the devices produce 5 or 10 liters of oxygen a minute, and you need like 50 or 60 liters a minute. So the only way to do that would be to gang up 6 different devices, and then you blow your wall outlet. so so that's not a realistic solution for folks. So, but if you have a reservoir, you have a single device and you've got a buffer, which is that reservoir. So that's the first thing you look for. The other thing I think you need to look for when you do it is you need a high quality mask. We use a mask that's designed for exercise. It's really about the mask design, but also it has a valve on it, a two-way valve. One valve opens when you breathe in to bring in pure oxygen, and when you breathe out, it shuts. And another valve opens so you exhale into the room and not back into your reservoir and diluting the oxygen. And so you need to have a mask with that's not only made for exercise, but that valve needs to be made for exercise, so you don't feel like you're breathing through a straw. So that was as I mentioned, I tinkered early on. I was using different masks, and they helped for a little bit, and then I realized as my conditioning improved, like it couldn't bring me enough oxygen. I felt like I was literally breathing through a straw, and so you're limiting your exercise so you don't run out of oxygen, which is kind of anathema to what you're
Mhm.
trying to do.
Mhm. How
Red
big are
light.
these units, by the way?
They do take some room. Like I said, the reservoir is really the thing that takes room. It's about roughly 5.5 by 6 feet. And you put it on a stand. It's like a big balloon looking thing. The device is pretty small. It's like 18 inches by 24 inches by 9 inches, sort of thing, and it's on wheels. And don't have to put it next to the reservoir necessarily, but people normally set the reservoir up next to a piece of exercise equipment. Um,
Mhm.
or some folks don't use exercise equipment. They'll do, other like jazzercise or bouncing on a rebounder or something, or even we have people who are really sick who'll just use like one of those under desk pedal bikes sort of things. So just
Mhm.
depends on your level. Red light's a little bit different. Red
Wait,
light, yeah.
wait. Real quick question. If people don't have room for that in their homes, if that's like just not an option, they don't have a way to exercise using that, can they search and find centers out throughout the country that offer that?
Sure. You can search. The term I would use is EWOT, EWOT near me, or EWOT near in your zip code. And you may find them. Oftentimes they're in chiropractor clinics, doctors' offices, recovery centers. So there's a variety of them. And we've had folks, I'm thinking about a recent customer who was traveling the country in an RV with her and her husband, and she had chronic fatigue and was motivated, and they set it up in their RV. So we've got folks who get creative. She would roll up the reservoir with the bungee cord up to the ceiling above her bed when she wasn't using it, roll it down. It's really the reservoir. So you know, it, it's like a balloon. So in essence, it takes a lot of room right before you use it when it's full. And then when you're done and it's empty, it takes up relatively less room. And
Neat.
the device, it's on wheels. You can move it around. You can put it in a closet, wherever you want to put it. So,
Yeah, so
um,
it's not enormous and can shrink down so that it's
that's
not
right.
like taking like a 6-foot balloon and taking up, half of your room.
That's
Okay,
right.
good to know, good to know.
Yeah,
So you can go out, guys, and get this therapy from different kinds of clinics. You can Google it. But if you're really interested in having your own at home, it is easily, it'll easily expand and retract.
that's right. And
Okay.
we have a bunch of YouTube videos. So if you're interested in learning more, I'd recommend you go to our YouTube channel and you can learn more and hear a bit more about it. Now you also asked me about red light therapy. How do you know you're getting a good red light therapy? That's a little bit trickier because it is quite a fad, and there's a lot of different ways people are trying to deliver red light. Um, the history of red light is when it started, it was known as low level laser therapy, triple LT, and they were using lasers. And then as LEDs became more advanced, we found we could deliver these benefits with LEDs, which are less powerful, and that's actually good. It leads to less skin heating and less potential cell destruction. So pretty much most of what you're going to find is not lasers anymore. There are some laser devices. Um, but what I'd say is there's a few different things you need to look for. You need to make sure it's powerful enough. A lot of those masks, the caps, the little blankets, the LEDs on some of those are just not powerful enough. We won't carry those because I don't believe they're at what I'd call a therapeutic dose. Um, red
And what is a therapeutic dose?
Red light and infrared light have really interesting therapeutic dose window. It gets into a little bit more science than I think people really want me to dive into here. But the best way to describe it is the benefits from what we'll call red light therapy, meaning red and infrared, is called a biphasic dose response, which is a fancy term for it's on a bell curve over time. So if you're underneath a red light, you're going to see your benefits go up, 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 and then it's going to peak. And if you stay under it longer, it's going to go down, down, down. It's not harmful. It just negates the benefits. It's like the mitochondria become numb to it. They stop reacting to it. And so
Mhm.
you no longer are getting the benefits. So you want to
Is
look
that
for
permanent?
it's per session.
Oh,
So,
got it. Okay. It's not
so
like you're,
let's
like, burning out your mitochondria, then
That's
it
right. So
it
if you let's just say, the peak dose was at 10 minutes, and you went underneath that light for 25 minutes, it's as if you didn't go under the light for the day. Um,
interesting.
yeah, but tomorrow you can start again, sort of thing. And if you went under 10 minutes, you'd start to accumulate benefits. So it's really, there's the way they measure the light's power, to your point about dosage, is something called irradiance. Now, early on, there was this kind of war who had the most irradiance. Um, Really, the difference is if the irradiance at a certain point is how much time you have to spend under it. Um, these masks, a lot of them are so underpowered that you'd have to spend so much time. It's not realistic. No one's going to spend exactly 2 hours, but not two and a half hours. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's
Or
just
wear
not
it around all day.
yeah, right. Like, um, but most of the like, if you're looking at a panel, usually most panels range with their irradiance and probably somewhere in the, some of them you can get maybe to do 7 minutes or something like that, up to maybe 20. Maybe some of the lower powered ones, even maybe 25 minutes on the outside, I'd say, from what I've seen. But most of them are probably in the 10 to 20-minute range. So I think panels generally you'll see mostly good quality. The other area you want to look at is wavelength. So wavelength is the different shades of red and infrared, if you will. And as I mentioned, each one of those different wavelengths may target different depths and different cells in our body. So depending on what you're looking, if you're just looking for skin rejuvenation, reds will be pretty good for you. If you're looking for overall health and wellness, you should add infrareds to it. You want to look at those. Different wavelengths have been studied for different benefits. What we tried to do when we made ours has 4 red wavelengths and 4 infrared wavelengths. So it kind of hits a spectrum of the tissue because we're looking for general wellness. We're looking at taking that oxygen folks just took in and doing EWOT and delivering it to all of the various tissues of the body, and improving benefits. But it really, if you're looking for specific benefits, you can do a smaller window and look for those specific wavelengths that do that.
Very cool. Are there any, you know, misinterpretations? Is there misinformation out there on either one that people should be wary of in terms of people making certain health claims if they're selling a product?
Well, I will say there are a lot of folks out there that are very aggressive on health claims. I've seen that. We try not to be, we try to be data first and the science first. Put the research on the page we talk about so people can see what we're talking about, which I think is important. I told you I like to research when I was using something for me. So yeah, you'll see that. I've heard claims about it doing things that is maybe a stretch a little bit here and there on some of the things,
Like
or
what?
um, there's a lot of talk about it with hormone health, and I've looked at some of the research. There's some promising early research on it, but I don't I can't tell you for certain that that's gonna it's gonna be a night and day for people's
For which
hormone.
one? Oxygen or red light?
Red light.
Okay.
Um, And then, in the oxygen world, it's not really medical claims. It's more hyperbole that I saw in there, just like people talking with a lot of marketing hyperbole. And I always kind of joke, truthfully, I'm like, the hardest part about oxygen isn't trying to come up with benefits. It's that if you really describe all the benefits truly, it's like it's kind of shocking. It's almost unbelievable. That's the marketing challenge, is like picking them because it's good for detoxification. It's good for cellular repair and mitochondrial health and anti-cancer and anti-inflammatory. So there's just too many of them. But in red light, I find there's a lot of folks out there, and there's kind of what I'll call um, a lot of like influencer bro kind of messaging in the red light sort of arena that I'm always a little bit, we definitely try to steer clear of that kind of mentality. So you just have to be careful.
Influencer bro. I love that. That's great. Um, so what if you were to look at price ranges, what are people looking at in terms of like kind of the gamut in price range between the oxygen therapy and red light therapy? How much would to get a good
Yeah.
unit for both? What are they
Yep.
looking to spend usually?
So, um, so as I mentioned, when I got into EWOT, they were selling them for $5,000 to $25,000, and you can still find those around the internet. Some of the companies that have been around a while have been doing that. Um, Even some newer ones are doing that. We kind of took a different position that we thought we didn't need as fat of margins. If we brought down the price, we could sell a greater volume to people and we could have people put it in their homes where they could benefit more. Our prices are, in the range roughly 2,000, 2,500, a little bit less than that. You'll see for our units. So I'm not telling you it's cheap, but it's much more affordable and it's a
Is that
one-time
for
sort of.
both?
No, that's for EWOT, exercise with
Mhm.
oxygen therapy systems. And, it's a one-time purchase sort of thing, which is what's cool about it. You'll have it for
Mhm.
years. And then as far as red light, it runs the gamut. I think there's a lot of overpriced stuff out in the market. Um, so price isn't necessarily a good indicator of quality. I was just um, looking at somebody's lights the other day, and they were doing one of these things where, hey, it's normally $8,500, but if you join our webinar, it's $5,000. And we were looking at the specs of the lights, and we're like, that's not but that's kind of their
Yeah.
business model. But I think you're definitely going to be talking, depending on the size of the light. Now that's the other thing. Like, I'll give you an example. For us, we have 3 different sizes. We have one that's for spot treatment that's about this big, and then you can kind of see in the background. We have a couple larger ones, and those are like for full full body or near full body treatment, which is more systemic benefits and wellness, which is probably what we sell more of. Those you're definitely talking, our smaller ones, $12.99, and our larger one there is $28.99. And those are really good prices in the marketplace too. We've tried to make ours affordable. But you will see, normally, like I'd say, like our larger one, I've seen people charging for similar ones $5,000 and $6,000. So it really spans the gamut. You want to look at the quality, but you also want to look at the company behind it, because I've had some horror stories of just does the company back their products, and can you
Right.
talk to someone? Because I know in our business, a lot of our customers, it's a high consultative sort of situation. They want to know, they have questions, they need help. Like me, when I was brain foggy, I wasn't going to read an instruction manual. I was like, somebody just tell me what to do, sort of thing. So,
Yes. And I
um,
would assume too, you could go to centers if you do some research and make
yeah,
sure you're doing a
usually
quality check.
Usually centers, if you're going, a lot of them will have good quality ones. I can't say across the board, obviously. Even
Right.
some of them have the next step up, something like a red light bed, which is kind of like one of those tanning beds, but they use red lights where you'll lay in and it'll get
Yes.
your top and your bottom at once. Those are
Yeah.
cost prohibitive for most home use. They're like, 25,
Yeah. And they're
50,000,
huge. They're
and they're
huge.
huge.
It's like a giant tanning bed, you guys.
Yeah.
Do you really need that in your house? I don't know. Um, so give me like 2 sentences on how those 2 therapies change your life.
Yeah, it's been transformative. I have my life back. I have 99% back where I don't Lyme no longer affects me, I've moved on, and it's
That's
amazing.
amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Oh my gosh. I have friends of mine with Lyme disease, and I'm going to have them listen to this podcast. That's incredible. So, how can people get a hold of you? Give me your website.
Yeah, the easiest way actually is we have a vanity website, bradtalkshealth.com, And if you go
And
there, it'll forward you onto our website, and you can learn all about it.
yes, and Brad, you did some talking health today. I really appreciate it. It's really nice when you hear science broken down in such a way that it's digestible, and you did a really good job with that. I think people can walk away with a clear idea of what exercise with oxygen can do for you, and when it's coupled with red light therapy, it's like that. Yeah, you are cooking with butter. Thank you so much for coming on, Brad.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yes, and thank you everyone for joining me on the A New Insight podcast, and I will see you all next time. Thanks for tuning into the A New Insight podcast. Please remember the contents shared on this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. You can find us anywhere podcasts are streaming, on YouTube at my.anu.insight and at anu-insight.com under the A New Insight podcast tab. And follow us on our socials at my.anu.insight on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more updates. Tune in next time and evolve with us.